Hello guys and welcome to today's video, and today I'm going to be sharing with you the best Season 1 Black Ops 7 settings plus GameSir G7 Pro setup. We are going to be starting with the GameSir G7 Pro setup, so if you don't care about the GameSir G7 Pro or don't wish to know anything about it, feel free to skip around. I do have timestamps down below to take you to those all-important Black Ops 7 Season 1 settings, because yes, my settings have changed quite dramatically. I have been messing around with a few things and I've made a big change to my settings in Black Ops 7, and I do truly believe now I have the best settings for Black Ops 7 for you guys. That is your controller settings, dead zones, your aim sensitivity, you name it. I'm going to be covering it all today and sharing with you guys the best Black Ops 7 Season 1 settings. But we are, again, going to be starting with the GameSir G7 Pro, which I am not sponsored by them. I do not get paid any sort of like royalties for promoting this, but I do believe truly this is the best controller on the market, and it's the best controller to take advantage of the settings that I have for Black Ops 7. And yeah, I'm going to share with you now what these settings are. But if you haven't got one of these controllers, I promise you this is one of the best and very least expensive controllers on the market for what it is. This is like a 70 to 80 pound pro controller, something like that. It's crazy, but I highly recommend that you should get this controller. But anyways, what I'm going to do is share those settings with you that are important and do help with Black Ops 7. So let's get into it. So we're going to start with the buttons, of course. As you can see, everything has stayed the same. Up is up, down is down, A is A, B is B. You get the point, right? Nothing's too crazy. The only thing we actually have is R4, which is a paddle behind the controller, is mapped to A, so I do have that paddle on. It's the only paddle I'm using. The L4 you can see there is completely locked. I cannot press this paddle at all, which is a nice feature of the GameSir G7 Pro. If you haven't already had one or didn't know this, you can lock the paddles, so you don't even have to use them. You've also got L5 and R5 there, which are in between the buttons there as well. I currently don't have those mapped to anything. I might experiment with them in the future, like mapping them to B or something, but currently I do not do this, but they are very well placed. I do think they are worth mapping to something, but currently right now I don't have them mapped to anything. I've just got A just for jumping here in Black Ops 7, but other than that, everything stays the same, nothing too crazy. Next up, let's move on to stick, shall we? So this is where it's very important, okay? The customizable, the ability to customize with the GameSir G7 Pro is in unreal. Like, the things you can do with this are insane. So what you can do with the dead zone, so for instance, I've got a 0 and 100, left it like that. Same with anti-dead zone. I have left them at 0 and 100. The curve adjustment has been left like that, and stick trajectory, okay? You want to change this to raw. This does make a difference. This isn't something that just changes the little graph in the middle in the on the controller there, as you can see. This does actually affect how the input is like registered by the controller. Circle was more of a like, you know, your typical standard controller, like it feels like a normal controller, but with raw, it is a very fine, like it reads every bit of movement that you do absolutely precisely to a T, as you can see on the graph. I wish I had a hand cam to show you how precise this truly is, but it is picking up every single tiny bit of movement I am making with that left stick, and it's absolutely what you want to be using on this controller. And it's going to be more important, as you can see, on the right stick, which we have changed to a dead zone of 2 to 100 and an anti-dead zone of 0 to 100. The reason we've got the initial at 2 is because the initial, like if you have it on 0 on this controller, it's far too sensitive. Like, I mean far too sensitive. It's one of those where like breathing on the thumbstick will literally make the thumbstick move. That's how crazy that is. So you want to bump this up a little bit, and I'd say bump it up to 2, just so you aren't getting those micro movements that when you're not even touching the controller. Like, it is that sensitive. Like, literally a bit of wind, it'll feel like, will move the thumbstick and sort of affect your aim, affect the movement, etc. So definitely have this on 2 to 100. And as you can see with the curve adjustment, we have messed with this. And you can see in the graph up there, we've got the output to input that you can see on the like left-hand side of the screen. As you can see, it's kind of built like dynamic. I have built dynamic as a like response curve basically into the controller, which you're going to find is very important, and you'll find why this is important when we get to those all important Black Ops 7 things. But we have changed it here, and we have set it to exactly 80. So if you want to replicate that to what I've got it, which is again like a built-in dynamic essentially for the controller, you want it to have that set to 80. You've got to come over to this third setting here and change this to 80. And then finally, again, stick trajectory to raw, because again, this is going to pick up the finest of movements with the right stick and make your aim extremely precise. Like, I can't explain until you hold and use the controller with the raw input. Will you understand what I mean by how fine and precise this is? I've never felt more in control with a controller when aiming ever. Like, and I mean, I'm comparing this to the Elite Series 2, just a standard Xbox controller. I've used quite a few controllers in my time. This is the best thumbsticks just out there at all. Like, these are TMR sticks. These are incredible. These basically won't get like stick drift, etc. These are unreal. Trust me. If you ever plan on owning a G7 Pro or use the G7 Pro, you will understand why I'm talking about here. And if you do have one, then you already do understand how good the thumbsticks are on this controller. But next up, we've got left trigger and right trigger, which we have left at 0-100, 0-100. Nothing changed to the curve adjustment. And hair trigger mode, we do not have on with this setting. So we have this one set to off. So as you can see, I can do a slight press, I can do a full press, and I don't have the trigger stop on at all on that side. But on the right trigger, however, we do have the trigger stop on. So as soon as I press it, because we've got the hair trigger mode down on here, which we've also got to a fixed mode, and again, we've got it at 0-100, got the curve adjustment there again, 0-100, 0-100. As soon as I press the hair trigger, it goes just like that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, I can fire this as like a semi-auto weapon as fast as possible. It's going to register my firing input as soon as possible. It's just an instant response, instant press, and like there's no room that you can't even do 0-50. It's either something or nothing. That's as simple as that with the hair trigger mode and with the trigger stop turned on the right trigger. Finally, vibrations. Okay, we've got vibration completely off. You do not need vibration on. You don't want that controller shaking around in your hand. Plus, if you didn't know, having the vibrational controller does wear your controller out over time. So if you want to increase the lifespan of your controller, get the most out of your controller before it does eventually break. Obviously, things aren't built to last forever, but if you want them to last as long as possible, I definitely recommend turning off vibration. And again, it does not help your aim. You do not need the controller vibrating around your hand. The only other thing I will say is with the thumbsticks, obviously you can't with the Elite, like compared to an Xbox Elite Series 2, you can't actually change the adjustment of the thumbsticks, but I do have control freaks on them, okay? I want to be very transparent. I'm not just using the raw thumbsticks. I do have a set of tool control freaks on the left and right thumbsticks. If you do want to use control freaks, absolutely do go for it. I think they're absolutely fantastic and do make it much, much easier to aim with the controller, but you can just use the raw sticks. The raw sticks are perfectly fine on the G7 Pro. I just prefer having some control freaks on them, especially as the control freaks have a larger surface area. And I have quite big thumbs, okay? I have like huge Diglett thumbs if anyone wants to know. But yes, that is it. That is the GameSir G7 Pro setup / settings for Black Ops 7. Any questions about this, let me know down below. If you want to know like what to adjust or what you want things more explained in the comments, let me know. I'll happily explain them as best as I can. But we are now going to cut to those all-important Black Ops 7 Season 1 best settings. So let's get to it. Let's cut to those all-important Black Ops 7 Season 1 controller settings. Right, hello guys, and welcome to the second part of today's video. Whether you skipped to get to this part or whether you came just from the GameSir G7 Pro settings, welcome. These are going to be the best Black Ops 7 Season 1 settings. I have no doubt about what I'm sharing with you guys are the best settings to use in Black Ops 7 right now. But let's get into it. Let's talk about those all-important Black Ops 7 Season 1 best controller settings. So, first of all, let's start with the button layout. We are on tactical. This has not changed. We have got melee to B to be melee, and your right stick when you're clicking is to change stance, slide, dive. This is just so that if you do go to perform like a slide cancel, you want to slide, you want to dive, whatever you want to do, your thumb will remain on the thumbstick. You don't have to go over and press B instead. You can just keep your thumb on the thumbstick, keep moving, keep aiming, all in the same motion, all on the same thumbstick, so you don't need to do anything with that. So just change it to tactical, thank me later. Next up, your horizontal and vertical stick sensitivity. This is where you got some room to wiggle with, right? People always have different preferences. Anywhere between 1.40 and 1.70 is where I think you should be at in this game. I've personally stuck with 1.50, but you guys can be the judge of that, whether you like it or not. Feel free to bump it up, bump it down, but anywhere between 1.40 and 1.70 is where I feel you should be at in this game to be able to comfortably aim and be like quick, responsive, and stay on target. So definitely stay between 1.40 and 1.70. Next up, everything else is set to off, nothing too crazy there. Controller vibration, please have this off. You do not need this on. You don't need the controller shaking around your hand. Dead zone inputs, this is very important. This is going to be very dependent on your controller, okay? Obviously, you have a test stick dead zone setting to be able to see whether or not this is going to affect you and whether or not you have loads of stick drift or not. But with the GameSir G7 Pro with TMR sticks, basically you have no stick drift. That's why I've got these both set to 1. If you are using a controller that is probably going to become prone to stick drift over time, I would say sticking these to probably 3 is your best bet, and possibly even 5. If your stick is basically having to be set to 7, 8, maybe even more to not have any stick drift, it might be time to get a new controller, okay? Because anywhere close to 10 is too much stick drift and is to the point that you are like having less of a response in your sticks, and you're going to be a lot slower than everyone else when it comes to responding to movement, etc., and being able to win gunfights. So I've got these both set to 1 and 99. Left trigger and right trigger set to 0-0 for an instant response, so you can instant press basically as soon as you press those triggers. But 1 and 99 I've got on both just because, again, we are using a G7 Pro, we are using TMR sticks, which have 0 stick drift. So that is one of the big benefits of having a G7 Pro, guys. That's why I absolutely like sing the praises about this controller. But if you are prone to a bit of stick drift, definitely have them set to 3 or 5 is where I'd have them at. Next up, though, let's move up to aiming. This is very important. So, well, this bit here isn't too much important, but leave that on 1. You don't need to change anything there. This here, this is what is important, and you probably already noticed something that's kind of crazy to change. But anyway, so ADS sensitivity transition timing is set to instant. Nothing too crazy here. This should be on instant for everyone. But aim response curve type, you guys are seeing that right. We are using linear. As you can see, it is using the raw controller response curve type. There is no funky business going on here. We've got it set to 1 as well, so you don't have to change that either. The reason we are using linear is because I have tweaked the aim settings basically with the controller. I am using the raw controller input. This is why I'm stressing that the G7 Pro is very, very important to using these settings, because with an irregular Xbox controller, you of course can't customize how the thumbsticks feel. Even with an Elite Series 2, you can change them, but not to the fine detail that you can with a G7 Pro. I think you can with a PlayStation 5 Pro, so you guys let me know down below if you are one of those people using a PlayStation 5 Pro. If you can do that, and if so, try and make your controller as close to the graph that I had for the sticks, or the thumbstick right on the right stick. But linear is the key this year. I've tried dynamic. I've even tried standard. Standard feels like it has the most aim assist, but it doesn't feel great. Like if you feel a bit stuck. You don't feel like you can move your aim around a bit. Basically, if you don't get on target quickly or don't get on target perfectly, you can't really do much. Dynamic feels a bit like stuck in between. 1 minute you'll feel like your aim's very good at long distance, but you can't seem to get on target in the short distance. And then vice versa. Sometimes you can have it set up where you're able to get on target on the short distance, but your aim at long range just isn't the same. Like you can't stay stuck on the target. It seems to be a bit. It's not a great feeling. You're either very good at short range or very good at long range, but you don't seem to be able to get both. With linear, with set to linear, set to 1, and using the G7 Pro settings, you absolutely feel it's great all around. Short range, medium range, long range. I don't feel stuck in what I can do. I feel like the aim assist isn't too much. It's not too little. It's absolutely perfect. I can't begin to say how much this has changed my game. And the best proof of that, if you guys haven't seen, we did drop a nuke recently in free-for-all. If you want to see what my aim is like using these settings, because that video was done with these settings, these exact settings, go and check out the nuke I got in free-for-all. It's also a guide on how to help you guys get a free-for-all nuke as well. But that was my aim using these controller settings, and trust me, these controller settings are absolutely incredible. Since changing to linear, since using the G7 Pro's raw settings, trust me, it is absolutely the best. And of course, to do that, you still need your target aim assist on, so definitely be having that on. But movement, sprint assist, have this on. Sprint assist sideways on, sprint assist backwards on. You need this. This is very important in this game. I don't know why. It just seems to be... It seems if you have this off, you feel a bit stuck in the mud this year. I don't know if it's just the way Black Ops 7 feels with its movement, but if you don't have this on, you feel really stuck in the mud, so definitely have this on. Mantle assist off, crouch assist off. Corner slice, I have got this off this year. I've decided I'm not going to have it on. Wall jump assist. I've seen some people say about having this on. I don't use this on, and I'll show you why in a second, because there's actually a really cool thing you can do with the wall jumping, which many people might not know about, and does make a big difference in certain situations. But slide dive behavior, I've just got slide only. I don't think the diving is very important. It's fun, it's funky, but sliding is definitely the way to go. Automatic airborne mantle we've got off. Sprint restore we've got on. Slide maintain sprint on. Again, always. And then wall jump activation. You'll probably notice and probably think this isn't actually that crazy, but change this to hold. Do not have this set to press, and obviously do not have this set to off. Have this set to hold. The reason for this being, you can now not accidentally like wall jump off of things. You can mantle when you want to mantle. So basically, when you go to jump at something, you will mantle it if you just press A. But if you hold A, it will do a wall jump no matter what. And in certain situations, basically, where if you jump, it will normally mantle. If you hold, you can go instantly up, and basically you can have your gun up instantly. You're not going to mantle, then get the gun out. Trust me, it's very, very good. Try the setting out, go into private match, and you'll see the difference that wall jump activation with hold is way, way better than just pressing it. So definitely set this to hold. Slide combat roll behavior, got tap to slide. Movement advanced settings, I don't think there's anything crazy here besides obviously grounded manual, have that on still, of course. Tactical sprint activation, have this single tap to sprint. You can have single tap to run as well, but I've gone single tap to sprint. And then sprinting door bash, not as much as there's not really many doors. I don't think there's any doors actually you can really bash into. I think they're all more automatic, aren't they? But anyway, the settings there, so we've got it on anyway. Combat, nothing too crazy here again. I've prioritized finisher move. I might prioritize it to Biddy Shield, actually. I don't know. Nothing too crazy. Oh, weapon mount activation. We've got ADS plus melee. The reason I got it set to this is just so we're not accidentally weapon mounting in the middle of gunfights. I also don't think weapon mounting is that useful in this game, but there also might be some challenges involved in this. I haven't actually checked all the camo challenges in this game yet. But just in case we do want to do it, we have ADS plus melee, so we can quickly do it. But we also don't want to be accidentally doing it in the middle of gunfights, so that's why we've got it set to ADS plus melee. Nothing too crazy here again, and here we got nothing that's important. You don't need to change anything there. And then overlay advanced settings, again, nothing too crazy there. So that covers basically all the controller settings. Let's move into the graphics settings, because these do affect your aim. You want to be making sure these are correct as well. This does affect how you aim, it affects how your movement feels. Graphic settings are very, very important, so make sure you're getting this right. But eco mode preset, we've got set to low consumption. This does not affect power performance. Before anyone thinks that you're going to have less frames, you're going to have less power going on your console, things will be less reaction. No, it does not affect that. Just leave it on low consumption, so your Xbox, PlayStation, whatever it may be, doesn't sound like a jet engine whilst you're playing. Gamma and brightness, this is going to depend on your TV and monitor, essentially, but just make sure 1 is not visible, 2 is barely visible, and 3 is easily visible. Just follow that guide and it'll be perfect for you, but mine's 50 for that reason. 120Hz refresh rate. If you can do 120Hz, absolutely do 120Hz refresh rate. It's way better than 60 FPS. I'm going to be honest, the standard nowadays, you should probably have 120 FPS. If you don't, I'd look at getting an upgrade, whether that be upgrading your console, upgrading your TV/monitor to be able to perform at 120Hz. You need 120Hz. I promise you, it's way, way better than 60 FPS. It's a night and day difference. You feel like twice as responsive, better with your aiming, everything feels more fluid. You definitely want to have 120Hz refresh rate in this day and age. Next up, quality. Okay, so have this set to off, set this to off, and set this to off. The reason being, if you look at all these images, if you have this on, it's more blurry, you can't see as much, your weapon's blurry, things outside of your view are blurry. Basically, this just makes everything blurry from your weapon, from the things around you. You don't want this on whatsoever. It's going to make things way worse for aiming, and it's going to make it worse for trying to spot enemies. Fidelity cast, have this on, and fidelity cast strength, set it to 63. The reason for this being, the higher you have this, funny enough, the more input delay you get. That is a true fact, and I will promise you there is a YouTuber out there, I can't remember his name, but if you can find him, he will prove this setting that this is true. The higher you have this, the more input delay you have. It's not crazy amount, but basically think of it as like you're going to add yourself a little bit more input delay the higher this is. So I've got it set to 63. That's the number that I've went with. And it's not going to have as much input delay, of course, as those using at 100. So do not set this to 100. As much as it'll make the game look better, it will give you more input delay. So definitely have this set to 63. On-demand texture streaming, minimal, small, and limit the daily download limit to 1. You do not want this downloading textures whilst you're playing. It makes the game lag. It makes the game worse. It doesn't feel great at all. I don't get why this settings exist. It's a stupid setting, okay? It shouldn't be there. If it was up to me, I'd have it completely off, but for whatever reason, we have it here. So set it to minimal. Field of view, this is very important. Make sure you're getting this right as well. Anywhere between 98 and 105 is what you want to be going with. I've tried it out. 103 is what I've settled on this year. I would say leaning towards more the higher end seems to be better this year. I don't know why. I did have this on 105 before, but anywhere between 98 and 105 is what you want to be going with. This is, of course, going to affect how your movement feels. It's going to affect how your aim feels. Everything in between, you definitely want to make sure you're getting this right, because this, again, does affect your aim massively. ADS field of view on affected, and then weapon field of view on wide. The reason we have it on wide says the weapon looks smaller, but not only that, it gives you less visual recoil. Okay, I want to say that again, visual recoil. This does not reduce recoil of the weapon, okay? This does not reduce vertical recoil, horizontal recoil, etc. It just reduces the effect of the recoil sort of visually as you are trying to aim with the weapon, so definitely have it on set to wide. Third person field of view doesn't matter. Again, first person camera movement in that, set that to least, so you're not getting as much camera shake whilst you're trying to aim and shoot, etc. with explosions going off. This doesn't matter too much, but pick your setting there which you want to go with. Next up, we move on to audio. Again, nothing too crazy here. I've got it set to 0, 30, and 100. Sound whoring in this game isn't too crazy. It's not something that's super crucial, I don't think. I feel like this is, which is a nice thing. I do like that I can just be able to, run around and not have to rely on listening too much to people's footsteps, but those are my settings for it anyway, if you do want to try and listen for footsteps. Enhanced headphone mode, I do have on, and then doesn't matter about this. I'm pretty sure you have to pay for this as well, I think, but anyway. Audio mix, we've got Treyarch mix, that's what I've left it on. I haven't changed this to anything else this year. Treyarch mix seems to be fine for me. Audio off, muted license music, I've just done that because obviously I record videos, but if you want the music on, then feel free to have it on. Voice chat, doesn't matter, but obviously you want to hear people rage, so I'd suggest having this on because it's fun. Server latency and packet loss, have these on so you can see whether you're in a bad server, both ping-wise and whether you're getting packet loss. So far this year, I haven't actually had much packet loss, if any. I've only had one bad server as well, where I had like 130 ping, but it's nice to know what your server's looking like. And then nothing too crazy here again. Color customization. This is actually something you do want to change. So you can change the color of these if you want to. But color filter 2, set it to both, and then set the intensity to 100 for both. This is going to make your game just pop out. The color's going to be better. Everything's going to stand out much, much better. And finally, gameplay HUD. Okay, multiplayer HUD presets. I have went Ethereum because this looks really cool. It stands out. I like it. I really do. So if you didn't know, these two exist here. And it looks like they're going to be doing some purchasable HUD interfaces. I do not recommend purchasing these at all. Like, they are not worth purchasing whatsoever, but I've got the free one here, Ethereum, which really looks cool. If you haven't known about this, there it is for you. Change it to Ethereum. It's really, really cool. You can scale it, of course. I haven't done anything with that. Safe area, this is important. The reason I've got this like more towards the center of the screen, what this does is this brings the minimap closer to the center of the screen. So you're not having to turn your head all the way to the left, or top left-hand side of your screen to be able to see the minimap. The minimap is more towards the center, so you're not having to look away from the center of the screen where obviously you're aiming, looking for enemies, whilst also trying to look for red dots on the minimap. So definitely have that on. Radar, set this off. Minimap rotation on. Compass on. Crosshair lines, I've got the crosshair line spread on, and then we've also got crosshair dot on, and we've got a larger dot on as well. This is just to keep you nice and centered. Make sure you kind of keeping that dot on the places that you're expecting enemies, etc. It's just nice to have. I've got it set to blue as well. We have changed it from green. I find like this little light blue is a lot better. Basically, set this to a color that it visually pops out. As you can see, the light blue just pops. It is nice and easy to see. So if you want to go with that, this is kind of the blue that I'm using. But just make sure it's set to a color that pops out for you so you can see. And then everything else doesn't really matter too much. So that is it. That is everything for Black Ops 7 Season 1 best settings. Any questions, leave them down in the comments down below. I will answer them as best as I can, whether it be about the controller settings for the G7 Pro, the controller settings in the game themselves, sensitivity, dead zones, you name it. Leave a comment down below. I will answer it as best and quickly as I possibly can. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe, notifications on. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Goodbye.